Hi everyone. On the occasion of World Environment Day, we want to talk about a lot of important matters relating to this year's theme, ecosystem restoration, and also talk about how we can continue to protect our environment even during the pandemic. For the discussion, we have with us Ms. Nikita, an extremely dedicated volunteer of Bhumi NGO. Bhumi NGO has been actively contributing towards environmental preservation through programs like Think Green, EcoChamp, Seedball programs, and many more. Ms. Nikita works relentlessly towards educating kids and teenagers about environmental awareness and also strives to empower them to become the environmental leaders of the future. Hi, Nikita. How are you?
Hi Mira, thank you so much. I'm good. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you so much. So, I think we'll start with the basics. So, what makes ecosystem restoration so important?
So most of the times when we are talking about ecosystems restoration, we focus on the fact that we are losing species. We focus on the fact that we are losing biodiversity. Each of these ecosystems is actually um, contributing to, or rather serving mankind in multiple ways. The very reason for our survival is all these ecosystems. So just to give a very simple example of an ecosystem that's probably very not very famous, but one of the most contributing ecosystems, which is coral reefs. So coral reefs, to say, doesn't even occupy it. It is even less than 1% of the ocean's floor, but it is home to about 25% of the marine species. So think of the density of life that there is in coral reefs and the amount of biodiversity it has. Having said that, while it is just less than 1% of the ocean's floor, it contributes to 50% of the oxygen, Earth's oxygen. We know that oceans are a biggest source of oxygen, right? And like 50% of the Earth's oxygen comes from coral reefs. And corals actually absorb one third of the carbon dioxide that is either emitted due to fossil fuels burning or the imbalance that is created because of deforestation. Now, just imagine the very source or the very reason for our existence is oxygen, and 50% of it is coming from this coral reefs ecosystem, which is not even 1% of the ocean's floor. This is just one way it contributes to us. Apart from that, coral reefs actually help protect the shoreline. It's one of the important functionality, or rather, contribution of coral reefs to the earth. They absorb the ocean, the wave energy. Like I think 90% of the wave energy is absorbed by the coral reefs, and they protect us humans from floods and storms. Um, and there are a lot of chemicals that are extracted from the coral reefs and used for making medicines. There is a drug called AZT, which is used for HIV treatment. There are chemicals that are extracted from coral reefs, which are used for treatment of cancer, leukemia. So what I'm trying to say is a simple ecosystem like coral reefs is contributing and helping the survival of mankind in these many ways. This is just small examples that I've given. So when these are disrupted, think about the imbalance that is created. Coral reefs have been there for 400 years, but then over the last 25 years, I think 30 to 50% of them have gone extinct. The Great Barrier Reef, which is the biggest coral reefs, is expected to go extinct by 2050. Think about the amount of imbalance it will create on this earth, because like I said, oxygen, 50% of oxygen is coming from coral reefs. So what is the kind of earth are we leaving to our children, right? Children, everybody has a right for quality air, quality nutrition. Now when we are creating imbalances like this, how is our future going to look like? 2050, when I said the biggest coral reef is going to go extinct, how is the oxygen going to look like on this earth? So I think I mean, just coral is one example, and rainforest, all these ecosystems, we all know, right? They are oxygen suppliers, they are carbon dioxide sinks, they produce a lot of medicinal plants, and also these are something that we all know. But coral reefs is one ecosystem which is not very famous, I thought, so I just quoted that example. So when coral reefs or any ecosystem is disrupted, it impacts other ecosystems and is eventually going to be a threat for our survival itself. So even if we are looking at it from a very selfish standpoint, like how are we going, what kind of an earth are we going to our children? Even for that, restoration and letting the ecosystems be the way they are is very important.
Yeah, that was a very interesting perspective, actually. So, yes, which are the environmental issues that need immediate attention?
To be honest, all environmental issues need immediate attention, but I want to focus on one environmental issue to which the solution starts from our homes and the implementation starts from our homes. So this is also one of the environmental issue that we highlight in our Bhumi's environment education program to the children, and that is waste disposal. So, or unscientific disposal of waste or waste management in general. So, like this is one of the biggest environmental issues. To just give some context or rather number to put some numbers in context, if you look at Chennai, uh, on daily basis, 5,000 tons of waste is generated. And all the northern zones of Chennai, the waste is collected, dumped in Kodungayur landfill, and the southern zones go to Perungudi landfill. Together, they are 500 acres of area. They have been there even before I was born, right? So for all these years, the waste that is generated in our homes is being collected and dumped into these landfills. So one important aspect to note about this is 70 close to 70% is coming from residential area, that is our homes. This solid waste that is generated every day, 70 close to 70% is coming from our homes and is a mix of multiple things, right? It's going to be organic waste, it's going to be paper waste, plastic waste, all of these are recyclable or reusable. And then it's also going to have reject waste like syringes, needles, and sanitary pads, diapers, and all of these. So this mix of unsegregated waste is going into these landfills. And to make a correction, this is not waste. Majority of it can be either reclaimed or reused. So we are one thing is we are not just throwing away important resources. Um which can be reclaimed. But apart from that, obviously unsegregated waste is what goes into landfills, right? So imagine once it is in landfill, what happens? There is organic waste, there is recyclable waste, and of course there's reject waste. All of this is going to interact. And just to give some examples, there is something called as leachate. So leachate is actually a toxic liquid that is formed when the wet matter from organic waste reacts or interacts with the rest of the waste and then forms a toxic black liquid. Now, this obviously will seep into the soil. It's going to impact the soil fertility, and it might be let into closer water streams like ponds or any water bodies nearby. So, apart from spoiling the water quality, it's also going to impact the life that is there on inside the water, right? Apart from that, this there are a lot of gases that are released from landfills. Of course, like methane. We know it is a greenhouse gas, and it also causes land fires. Apart from all these problems, there is also one more human problem, which is manual scavenging. Uh, I'm not sure if you've seen this movie called as Silukarpati. So Silukarpati movie starts off with few kids sitting on landfill, and they on daily basis they go collect and try to get something that's useful from that, right? So there is no dignity in that, right? But we are creating such a situation by dumping everything there. So while this is a very big problem, we are not just throwing away resources, we are creating all these additional problems like soil decreasing soil fertility, spoiling the water bodies nearby, and we are putting money into doing this thing, right? There's a lot of manpower, there's a lot of money, thousands of crores just go into Chennai city, 7,000 crores goes into Chennai city waste management. Why should we do all this when we can segregate the waste at home? So according to me, this is like one of the biggest environmental issues, and the solution is simple: starts from our homes. When we start segregating our waste, the organic waste can be simply composted. Um, the other waste, we could reuse, and worst case, we can send it to recyclers. And certain things we can try and find alternatives, like for menstrual products, we can find alternatives. For instead of plastic, we can use paper bags or cloth bags. So a lot of this can be reduced, and it's one of the biggest problems. The solution is simple, according to me: starts from home. When we segregate and divert into the right ways instead of just dumping and just putting and sending into landfills.
So, how can technology play a role in this? What kind of techniques can be employed in addressing these issues that you spoke about?
Of course, there are big technologies like green energy, solar energy, and all of that. But there are some small, like simple example to say, India has had about 1 lakh miles of roads just from plastic. So this is a beautiful technology where plastic is being used into making roads, right? There are technologies coming in where you're able to convert animal waste into paper, and there are simple like even Bhumi has this where we have smart collars given to animals, right? So this simple technique can help those endangered animals from being unnoticed on the roads and being dead. So these are just some technologies that I'm aware. Not very well versed with a lot of technologies, but a couple of these technologies, I feel that are in existence. Apart from that, something that we can do at home is like upcycling water technologies are there. How do we reuse water? So just couple of things I'm able to think of.
So it's like it doesn't have to be exactly very large scale or very technical. I get it. Yeah, that's a very good
Yeah,
explanation.
yeah.
Thank you. So yeah, next can you tell us about the activities and contributions of Bhumi towards ecosystem restoration?
So I think you've pointed a couple of them in the beginning of your introduction, right? So we have initiatives that are different in different nature. So we have Bhumi specific education, environment education programs. So I'll talk about just two of them. So we have a program called as Eco Champs, and the main so in schools uh, we don't have a curriculum where children are maybe told about environmental issues and environmental studies, but they're not well equipped with the solutions or the practices that they can do on day-to-day basis. So this is one gap that we had tried to fill using our EcoSams program. So it's actually a 6 month program that happens in parallel with the school curriculum. And children are taught about different environmental issues, not just the issues and impacts, but also how the solutions to it and how they can practice. And we also provide logistics to the school where they can implement those. Like when we talk about composting, we tell the benefits, and we also provide them, like kamba pots that they can practice composting at their school. Where we also provide waste segregation bins where they can practice this waste segregation at a school institution level. Um, yeah, so by doing all this, our main aim is for children to change their mindset, also to provide them solutions and practices that they can do on day-to-day basis, help them become more environmentally conscious. And at the end, we have some interesting leadership activities where something called as community project, where children have to implement something, identify some issue, make some changes, implement it, and then basically just create a change in their community. So that's about the EcoChamps program that we have. So it's while we also teach children, in the process we also help volunteers become more environmentally conscious, because volunteers are the one who go and take these sessions to the children, and we train them on all these aspects. So we are while we it's a students program, children's program, it's also for the volunteers. Then we had something recently called as climate action camp. That's actually a 6 weeks program, and it's about different environmental issues and some scientific experiments on that, like ocean acidification, like live examples to see, like just to demonstrate all these things. So that has just this is happening, and it's at the end phase. We have a fest coming up for that. Apart from that, we also engage a lot of corporates with us. So we do a lot of eco-friendly lifestyle webinars with the corporates. We tell them switches that they can make in different aspects, like their workspace, their homes, in travel, and different other aspects like that. So we try and show them solutions to what are the switches that they can make to make their lifestyle more eco-friendly. We also engage corporates for beach cleanups and mass seed ball activities. Um, then we last year we've done this all of Ridley turtle conservation, where about for 12 weeks we have done beach cleanups and helped the cubs go into the let into the ocean. So this happened, and we have tree plantation. One unique thing about this is this tree plantation happens in residential area. So the volunteers go take plants, give to the residents, plant them, and let the residents take care of those plants. So in this way, we are sure that the plants are being taken care of. Yeah, apart from that, we do some kitchen garden setups in shelter homes. And we also do event or some important event day specifics like World Environment Day, Plastic Free July campaigns is something that we do. We do International Volunteers Day activities. So we do multiple things like doing EcoBricks workshop. We had this desk making workshop from EcoBricks. So EcoBricks is nothing but a simple concept where you stuff plastic into like plastic wrappers into plastic bottle, make it a brick, and you can make a structure out of it. So we've been able to make like desk using these things. This was I think for the International Volunteering Day or National Volunteering Week. And then we had, like I was saying, Plastic Free July. It's a campaign that runs month long, and we conduct a lot of webinars and sessions on how they can make switches from plastic on different aspects, like how you can have eco-friendly celebrations. How can you have an eco-friendly home, like a kitchen? How can you have an eco-friendly kitchen? How can you have an eco-friendly bathroom? How can you have an eco-friendly home, basically? And a lot of webinars on eco-friendly lifestyle and eco-friendly switches that they can make. We invite a lot of panelists to talk about um, day-to-day changes that everybody can incorporate and all of that. Um, yeah, these are certain things that I'm able to think of. These are some that we do.
Yeah, I mean, all of it sounds very inspiring, actually. Kudos to Bhumi team for
Thank
taking
you.
a lot of initiatives and involving a lot of youngsters in this. So, yes,
Yes.
can you tell us in what ways can we preserve our environment, both at an individual level and also at a societal level?
So I was talking about this waste segregation problem, right? So as an individual, certain things that we can do is in our homes, we can start segregating our waste. We can start composting. Composting is a simple process, does not involve a lot of money, doesn't involve a lot of time, does not involve a lot of effort, but then we're able to reclaim a lot of energy back, right? Um, we can start looking at our consumption. We can start looking at our lifestyle options, the kind of products that we are picking. Um, um, so these are certain things that we can do on personal level, yeah, and then from society point of view, of course, we can start making changes, as a neighborhood or as a colony, and then of course we can start making changes on a bigger level. Um, like we are talking about all these things, right? Beach cleanups that we're talking about, and we're talking about plantation drives. So these are certain things that we can do as groups, and of course, as a country, as a nation, of course, we can make a lot of changes in terms of having strong environmental laws, having like Chennai has recently tied up with Urbacer, which is a Spanish-based company, to manage the waste. So more cities can come up, and more governments or corporations can come up and implement such things on bigger scales. So yeah, on individual level, if you ask me, first thing to do is look at the waste that we are generating. So try to see how we can reduce or divert or upcycle or reuse those things. How can we make switches in our day-to-day lives? Apart from that, we can see how can we as an individual help another person also get inspired by us. So if I can make another family member also adopt a similar lifestyle, if I can help the neighbor do that. So these are certain things that we can do on individual basis. um, yeah.
Yeah, I like the inspiring part the best because when you inspire another person, you start a chain and it continues. I like it. I like it. It's a
Yeah.
very interesting take. Yeah. So next, what is the role of youngsters in this mission? Because you've been dealing with a lot of youngsters, so you know how full of energy and potential they are. So how can they contribute to this mission, Nikita?
So like we were discussing, right now there is a huge need for people to start acting. There is a huge need for people to start taking initiatives, and luckily there are a lot of opportunities available for youngsters. Like simple example is NGOs like Bhumi, or there are a lot of other NGOs as well who are working on either a spectrum of initiatives or a specific cause. So there are n number of opportunities for youngsters to get into it. So we actually, like I said, we involve a lot of college students in mentoring school students. We involve college students in creating awareness campaigns. We involve college students in getting guest speakers and inspire more people. We engage them in campaigns. We engage them in beach cleanups or seed ball making or mass activities. So there is a huge need for youngsters to start acting on it, and also there are huge opportunities, either provided by different NGOs, or you can also contribute. If you cannot contribute for a cause as such, you can contribute your skill. Like for EcoChamps, if you're a good content creator, we have mentors who just come in to create content. So you can youngsters can actually contribute different things, either their skill or for the cause they can contribute their time. There are a lot of opportunities, and then they can definitely make a difference. So this year, like I said, we involve multiple college students. We take webinars to them, and then they get inspired by the program. They join us. They help mentor students. They help with us all the campaigns. Yeah.
So yes, so how can we continue to protect our environment even during the pandemic?
Yeah, one thing is probably now that we are at homes, there is a lot of scope for us to start looking at our homes itself. So if you haven't started composting, probably pandemic time is the best time for you to start composting. If you are looking at the waste generation, there's, I believe, you have a lot of time for yourself to look at your homes and look at the waste that you're generating and come up with innovative ways to reuse that. But apart from that, that is again from an individual standpoint. This year, EcoChamps, we went completely virtual. So, like I said, it's a school-based program where we go directly to the schools and take sessions. Now, that is not possible during the pandemic time. So, we completely remodeled it into a virtual program where it's all virtual online classes. We made it more experimental basis. We made it more DIY methods, and also this is one way we adopted our programs into this. The Plastic Free July campaign that I spoke about has happened completely during happened as a virtual thing. So we were able to have different challenges or different campaigns through which people started making switches in their life. I have personally made a lot of switches during the Plastic Free July, uh, from switching from a particular product to an eco-friendly alternative. Um, and yeah, the World Environment Day. So all of these initiatives that we have been doing, the climate action camp, all of this we have been able to do it during the pandemic time in a virtual mode. But then we still have been able to continue the impact or what we've been doing offline.
So finally, Nikita, what would you like to tell to our viewers?
When we mostly talk about environmental issues and solutions, we think about big things. We think about national level campaigns. We think about Greta Thunberg, but they can start with small, simple changes in our day-to-day lives. It can start with a simple switch where you start carrying a cloth bag to vegetables for buying vegetables instead of using a plastic cover. So we can start making switches from non-sustainable products to more sustainable products. We can be more conscious of the energy that we're using. We can be more conscious of the waste that we're generating. So according to me, or what I would want the viewers to do is to become more cognizant of your actions on the environment, and to see and to start making those small steps towards becoming more environmentally friendly. So it doesn't you there is no perfect solution, or there's no perfect way to become, or you cannot be a perfect eco-friendly person, but you can be an imperfect eco-friendly person. You can make small switches, and you can still continue towards that big journey. So that's my request to the viewers.
Absolutely. So thank you so much, Nikita. It was really nice interacting with you, and I'm sure the viewers have a lot of takeaways from the discussion to think and also act upon. So thank you everyone for watching.